To call the April 3rd Common Council meeting to order. We will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Councilwoman Konechny.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. Clerk Treasurer Barthune.
Councilwoman Konechny.
Present.
Councilwoman West.
Here.
Councilwoman Cutler.
Present.
Councilman Frankie.
Here.
Councilwoman Ficus is absent. Councilman Vincent is absent. Councilman Galloway.
Here.
5 present.
Approval of minutes. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve the minutes as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Petitions and comments from the citizens. Sierra Sue Jesh, please come forward. State your name and address for the record.
Okay, my name is Sierra Sue Jesh, and I live on Jefferson Avenue. In the, I believe it's 700 block of Lincoln Way, you still have the sidewalk blocked off, so people have to walk in the street on the south side. I mean, it's been months since that building collapsed, and nothing's been done to make it safe for people to walk on the sidewalk. Recently, I ended up having to walk clear out into the middle of the street because there was a car parked there. I couldn't even walk in the parking area. So I had to watch for oncoming traffic to get through. In other towns I have seen on TV that they build an enclosed area so that people can walk on the sidewalk without worrying about anything falling on them. And I think, you know, if you want walkability downtown, we need to do something so that people can walk on the south side of Lincoln Way. Thank you.
Thank you. And Sue, you said you walked in the middle of Lincoln Way?
I had to walk out in the driving lanes.
Okay. We want you
I
to be
did go
safe.
clear out to the middle, but I walked out where the cars were driving.
I got nervous when you said in the middle. We want you safe.
No, not quite that
Can,
bad.
Thank
can
you.
I comment for just a quick sec? Sierra Sue, I think it was at the last bid meeting, we talked to Tommy Very a little bit about that and about the planter that's there, and they're going through those decisions of what to do. So I'll see what I can find out the next meeting Monday and see if they're moving forward on repairs or what they're planning to do. I think that was part of the decision there, I think. So
Well, I mean, you can
I'll make a
build
note.
I mean, see it on TV all the time, they build a covered area on the side, so people walk through there in a closed area without being afraid, because I've been
Right.
told that we're not gonna open the sidewalk because you're afraid of insurance.
Mm.
What about the person that has to walk out in the street?
Yeah, that's right. Okay, so I will just make a point to bring it up and talk at the next meeting, which is next Monday, and we'll go from there, okay?
Okay.
All right.
Thank you, Sue. Rick Ogle, if you could come forward and state your name and email address for the record.
All right.
I just like that, by the
Yeah,
way.
that's
That's
a
why.
good one, right? Nunya? Rick Ogle, 1902 Indiana Ave. I have 3 minutes, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Is it my 3 minutes, or is it total?
For 3
with
minutes.
everyone?
Your
Okay.
3 minutes.
2 things. I was surprised at the last meeting when there was discussion about a parking study. Does anyone realize how many parking studies there have been in downtown LaPorte over the last 30 years? There are only 2 things that I know that have happened. And one of them obviously happened more than 30 years ago, that alleviated the parking a little. And that was when they made Michigan and state, when they went from parallel parking to angle parking. Those are the only ones that I know of that did any good and wasn't a waste of time. That and turning the parking lot on Jefferson Ave into a garden, which I thought was okay. Other than that, I don't understand where the parking problems are. The county says that technically, the parking in front of the county offices and the courthouse is a city problem. Well, they all park there. All the employees park on State and Michigan. That's why it's busy at 8 until 4. I think that's all I have on that.
Thank you.
I'm not done yet.
Oh, dumpster. Oh, I thought you, okay, yes.
Friday afternoon, I asked my granddaughter to take a garbage can to the dumpster at the city barns or city whatever on 2nd Street. She couldn't find him. I said, "Where are you?" She goes, "I'm at the Palace." I said, "Go out of the parking lot, take a right, take a left, look at the 2 buildings. There should be a dumpster there." No dumpster. I went, "Okay." Saturday morning, I drove over. I couldn't find a dumpster. Yesterday, I drove by and I saw a dumpster behind the buildings inside a fenced-in place. I didn't see any signs saying that there was a dumpster there, but it was only good, you could only use it on certain hours of the day. Is that the dumpster
Yes,
that I'm supposed to use?
yeah.
And I will tell you, so it has been overwhelmingly successful, and we can't keep the dumpster empty long enough for the company to come pick it up. And we do have times where they don't bring the dumpster back, the free dumpster back for people to use right away. So there have been times, in fact, we had 2 times last week or the week before where it gets filled so quickly that it takes a couple days for them to return a new one. And the other issue is, we'd love to have it out front. We had it out front, the water department had it on the weekends, and people started dumping on the sides, all over, just totally misusing. We wanted it there. Our goal was 24/7, 7 days a week, and unfortunately, when we did that, it became almost a full-time job for our street department to clean up those messes that people left us.
Will the city put up signage that tells us when we can and when we cannot?
Yeah, I think it has been there. I know it's been on our social media. But yeah, I know.
Signage.
Yes, we will be glad to add some signage.
Can I comment on that as well? I don't usually comment on all this stuff, but I just, like, it's bid board and like UEA tonight, but I think that at the UEA meeting, which is coming up this month as well, we can talk to Jeff Batchelor about that. There have been some other people who've gone to do drop-off, and if they go and they see, oh, it's only open 7 to 1, because they may not be on social media, if there was a sign that said, or please call when it's available and call ahead of time. I mean, I got used to just calling and saying, hey, is the dumpster there or not? Is it empty or not? Because like the mayor said, we can't have it left outside, and it's a UEA program. It's not a city program. It's the Urban Enterprise Association that is paying and funding it and are paying Jeff to oversee it. So I think the UEA could possibly request that and talk to them about a better way to service people when they drive up to the location and it's closed, like signage. It's here Monday through Friday, 7 to 1 or 7 to 3. What do you think?
Oh, I love it.
Okay.
And then, Rick, on the parking study, it wasn't a fresh parking study, it was built on the last one, because there's too many studies that have always been used, nothing's ever been done. So we weren't gonna start fresh, we were gonna build off the one that was there to say, okay, what's the latest information so that we can move and make whatever decisions the city needs to for parking.
Well, I don't know of anything that's changed. Has there been anything that's changed? From
Well,
like the last 3 or 4 studies?
I think you've got a lot of
The city,
people.
as far as I know, the city just keeps on paying for more studies.
Well, and I think this study also has to do with the truck traffic downtown, something that,
Oh, so it's not a parking study, it's also a,
well, no, I'm going to give you my personal as well, because we need to get control of Lincoln Way as an additional portion to the parking study, because then we can go angled parking if we have control over the state on Lincoln Way, close down and have alternative routes for the truck traffic to go. And that will free up quite a bit of traffic parking, because people like Mr. Frankie won't even park on Lincoln Way right now because of his kids in the unsafe downtown with truck traffic barreling through.
Great.
Thank you. Any other comments from the public? Standing committee reports. Mr. President Frankie.
Redevelopment Commission met last Wednesday, the 29th, 5:15 here in council chambers. Bills were paid, and for new business, the estoppel certificate for the Aldi area was approved, basically, so the current owner can sell it. Newport Landing real estate purchase agreement was approved as well. There will be a new business coming there, provided that everything works out with that purchase agreement. No updates on who exactly, and that's all I have.
Councilman Galloway.
The Police Merit Commission will meet a week from tomorrow, the 11th, 2 o'clock at the Police Department.
Councilwoman Cutler.
The bid board will meet next Monday, April 10th at 5 PM here at council chambers, and the UEA will meet Wednesday, April 19th at 4 PM at the LEAP offices.
Councilwoman West.
Nothing to report at this time, but I will report something when we untable something at the end.
Councilwoman Konechny.
Traffic Commission will be scheduled for next Tuesday, April 11th at 5 PM at the police station. The HPC will meet on Tuesday, April 18th at 5:30 here in council chambers. And the airport authorities, next meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, April 12th at 5:15 at the airport.
Clerk Treasurer Barthone.
Okay, I am just asking for council approval to move, to have a council meeting schedule change on the week of Labor Day. It's currently on our council schedule that's already been approved on September 5th, and we would like to move it to September 6th.
Can I ask, is that just for a longer Labor Day weekend, or is it a conflicting meeting, or is there a confliction like with the Tuesday?
There's a process with annexation that the dates would match up better.
Okay.
It is not for a longer.
Well, you know, there's that.
Do I
But
have
the
a-
reason that the council meeting was on Tuesday is because of the Labor Day
Yes.
holiday.
Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second, discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Mr. Cook, Redevelopment Commission Annual Report.
Good evening to the council. Bert Cook, Executive Director of the LaPorte Economic Advancement Partnership. So I'm here to cover your, or the Redevelopment Commission report to the Indiana Department of Local Government Finance. We do this annually and take a little time to go through with you some of the work that the RDC has completed over the course of the last year. I know you've each been provided that report. I picked out some things that I thought were most relevant or interesting, and I'll just go over those quickly. So our redevelopment commission is led by Brian Chalik. Damon Gassaway is the vice president, JT McDermott the secretary, and then Jenna Francisconi and Betsy Parkinson are also members. On the second page of the report, you'll see a list of our TIF districts. So we number them, but I just wanted to mention TIF 1 is the Central Business District, so downtown and Newport Landing. TIF 2 is the Thomas Rose Industrial Park. TIF 3 is the Eastgate Industrial Park off Fail Road. And then TIF 4 is the Maple Lane Mall. Skipping back to page 4 of the report, pulled out some of the major developments or major projects that have occurred in each one of these TIF districts in 2022. So we'll start with the Central Business Redevelopment Area, that's TIF 1 again. You had the banks, which came online fully in March. We've got planning and engineering for the Clear Lake Loop Trail and the Truesdale realignment project. Obviously, the Truesdale realignment project is a major one that's getting ready to start construction, but that planning was completed and finalized last year. And the new Aldi opened up in November, as well as 7-Eleven, Smoothie King. The redevelopment commission completed work on the Monroe streetscape design, and then the parking study that was referenced earlier. In the Thomas Rose Industrial Park area, the Qualls family or Quincy development completed a 150,000 square foot industrial spec building, which you've heard me talk about at numerous meetings, but was fully leased before the completion of construction, so major success story there. That was built on 23 acres in the industrial park. We also saw James Schaffner, general contractor, bid on and purchase a 12 and a half acre parcel along Boyd Boulevard, where he intends to do industrial spec as well. In the Eastgate development area, TIF 3, no major projects undertaken by the redevelopment commission, but we did see the Tubecraft build commence and complete construction, and they're getting ready to open in that building, which was the last 4 acres available in the Eastgate Industrial Park. And then finally, TIF 4, which is the LaPorte Town Square. Work continued on Maple Lane Mall. We've seen many great changes over there with Rural King and Dunham's re-upping their lease. But since this report was completed, you'll also know that Bigby Coffee opened. And then just today, Planet Fitness, the mayor and I were able to celebrate with them as they open their doors today as well. That is all I've pulled out of the report that I thought was most relevant. I'm happy to answer questions if you have them.
Questions from the council? Hearing none? Anybody from the public that would like to ask questions about the redevelopment commission?
Actually, I do have one quick question. It says on the first page that the non-voting school board member is Shannon Hannon. Is she still on the school board?
Yeah, Councilman Frankie and I noticed that as well. No, and I think we need a new appointment from the school board. I think we can pursue that and try and get a new member added to the redevelopment commission.
Okay, thank you.
And I know they were working with the county the school corp was going to add a new member to the county redevelopment as well, and it's been moving somewhat slow.
Sometimes it takes a little time to get the right person, so.
Okay.
Questions from the council? We do have one question from the public. If we could ask you to come forward, state your name and address, and Mr. Cook might be able to answer.
Not too bright, is it? Larry Pinkerton, 1612 L Street. I was just asking when the Dollar Tree is going to be open. I was just wondering.
I'll let Mr. Cook. I mean, and this is one thing, we had no involvement between the city and the
none?
business. So maybe Mr. Cook might know.
I'm safe. Thank you.
Yeah, we don't have any, I don't have any specific information. As the mayor referenced, that company inquired with the city for support in opening there. That's not something that we believe was a positive development for the west side, so I don't have any specific information. I have seen that they've been actively working on the building, so it looks like it's within 60 days or so, but that'd be the best information I have at this point.
And our priority and focus is still a west side grocer, so. Further questions? Thank you. Councilman Galloway.
Your Honor, I'd like to introduce an ordinance for the first time reading in its entirety.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Councilman Galloway.
An ordinance establishing a parking space in the 700 block of Clay Street to be designated as a unloading zone. Whereas the Traffic Commission, after due consideration, has recommended to the Common Council of the City of LaPorte that the first parking space north of the alley on the east side of the roadway in the 700 block of Clay Street be designated as a loading, unloading zone. Now therefore be it and is hereby ordained by the Common Council of the City of LaPorte, Indiana, that, Section 1, the first parking space north of the alley on the east side of the roadway in the 700 block of Clay Street shall be designated as a loading, unloading zone. This ordinance shall be in full force and effect upon its passage, approval by the mayor, and publication as required by law.
This is pretty simple, but is there anybody that would like to comment on it?
I do have a question. I have
Clarify.
a lot tonight. Yeah. Well, as I read through this, I just wanted to clarify. I remember back when we accepted something like this in front of Temple News Agency, and it was a 15-minute loading, unloading, where you'd pull in, someone could go in and get their coffee and leave. Right now, we have 2-hour parking downtown, and I noticed this is right by an alley, and most businesses I know of get their deliveries and loading, unloading through the alleys. Is this serving a specific area, or is it helping to serve like a coffee shop in and out? Or can we have a little more information on why we need to take away a parking spot for a loading?
Sure. Chief Snyder, I think, can answer this question.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. To answer that question, this is actually to serve a business. There's a new business that went in at the southeast corner of Lincoln Way and Clay Street. Part of that building goes down Clay to where we're talking about at this parking space. This parking space right there has 2 double doors that open up that previous businesses there have not used, but because of the nature of this business, they need that for unloading and loading of product coming in and out of the building. If a car is parked there, they cannot get in, they cannot access those doors. So,
I see.
in particular, that this is to serve that building. It's not to serve customers. It's to serve the building owners to be able to get product in and out of the building.
So what do you think about on that signage having a 15-minute limit or a 30-minute limit or something? What if someone comes to unload their minivan for that business and then they leave it there for 4 hours? It's just a free parking spot.
It would be at the,
hypothetically.
really, it's to serve that business. So for someone to come in and out of there, not having a purpose of unloading or loading, I couldn't see anybody other than that business needing it.
I guess what I'm trying to say is like, that also creates sort of a free parking spot for that business to leave their car as long as they want, because it's loading and unloading. Is there like a limit? Most loading and unloading just usually say 15-minute loading zone or half-hour loading zone. Or no.
That would be your choosing. I would say that with what personally I witnessed, I stopped by there on a Saturday, just so happened that he was trying to unload one of his trailers at the time. There was a car parked in that spot. He had the entire street of Clay blocked at that time. So there's a safety issue for us with that. The thing is I guess you could put a time limit on it, but I would say with what I saw he had on the trailer and needing 15 minutes would not be enough.
Okay.
I would say at least a half an hour to an hour he would need. So if you wanted to put a time limit on it, I'm sure that's your choice. But
And from what you've witnessed from there isn't real an ease in coming down the alley and unloading there. It's just not
no,
possible. Okay.
the street, the sidewalk is so tight, and some of the items that they're bringing in and out of that are large.
Okay.
It creates an issue for that parking spot right there. Not only for anybody who parks in that parking spot too, wouldn't want to see their cars getting damaged. And like I said, we do not advocate blocking the entire street for
Okay.
an hour at a time or something. Just,
Okay,
and-
that
but
makes
we do
sense.
want to make sure that his business is, taken care of.
But if,
Would that loading be just during the daytime? Or do they do
Yeah,
loading and
I would
unloading through
assume,
the
but
night?
Again, I don't know his particular, he's working after hours, to what, he came before the Traffic Commission, asked for us to consider this, and there was definitely,
I think my only hesitation then, or just, I guess, a red flag would be, it sounds reasonable, and it sounds like it would be nice to help a new business who is located downtown, but just beware of how much we do this. I mean, we have a lot of businesses downtown that have a lot of delivery issues and a lot of, alleys being used, and as we continue to grow, we'll lose more parking spots if we keep allowing a loading zone on the street.
What's unique in this one, as the Traffic Commission looked at it also, is those double doors are right there.
Okay.
Right there on that spot. You won't
Gotcha.
find that in too many buildings in town. To be honest with you, why it has been allowed for this long for, apparently previous businesses did not have the need, or they just worked around it. This couple actually, I can see how it would definitely benefit them and make the operation a lot smoother all the way around for us.
Chief, is this
and-
Freckle Farms?
Yes, it is.
Okay,
Oh,
and it might
okay.
be, I don't know if you guys can touch base with Freckle Farms before the next meeting to make an adjustment?
I do
Maybe.
think with bare bones and the red door there, it would be nice to have, limits, so at night, which is when people frequent restaurants mainly, there is ample parking.
Well, after 6, it's just open to anyone, isn't it? I mean,
Is it?
downtown parking is only limited up until 5 or 6, isn't it? And after that, you can park as long as you want, anywhere, isn't it?
Depends on the day.
Oh, yeah, that's right. North, south, east, and west,
And
that's
also,
true.
if you make this a loading, unloading zone, I don't believe that that's going to be affected by, the 2-hour parking is open, but
Mm-hmm.
this would be separate, this would be a separate part of an ordinance, or separate ordinance.
So if someone from Barebones wants to park in the loading zone at 7 o'clock at night and stay in Barebones till 9, is that an issue that they park in a loading zone?
It's, yeah. The one thing you have to keep in mind too with the loading zone, it's going to be striped differently on the
Okay.
pavement. Because just to designate that as a loading zone, there's going to be diagonal striping across that entire parking spot. So that may create some confusion also.
Okay.
Sounds like council may want to talk to the owners in that area and before the next ordinance and come back maybe with an amendment.
Yeah, I mean, because it's an ordinance, it's just the first reading, but I think that's something we probably should look into, just to be sure, because again, it sounds like it will serve a new business, but I wouldn't want it to hinder other businesses. I mean, a lot of people work around a lot of different delivery issues downtown, so,
Okay.
thank you.
Further discussion? Hearing none, we've got some work to do and before the next meeting, and we will move forward on April 17th, second reading. Councilman Frankie.
Your Honor, I move to read an ordinance for the first time in its entirety.
Second?
I have a motion and a second discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Councilman Frankie.
An ordinance establishing a restricted parking area on the east and south side of Stanley Court. Whereas the Traffic Commission, after due consideration, has recommended to the Common Council of the City of LaPorte that a restricted parking area should be created on the east and south side of Stanley Court. Now therefore be it, and it is hereby ordained by the Common Council of the City of LaPorte, Indiana, that Section 1, a restricted parking area shall be created on the east and south side of Stanley Court for a distance of 30 feet from the center turning point. This street makes a 90-degree turn, changing direction from east to west to north to south. Section 2, this ordinance shall be in full force and effect upon its passage, approval by the mayor and publication as required by law. End of ordinance.
Another ordinance for restricted parking. Chief Snyder.
Yeah, you might as well.
Okay, yes, as it mentions in the ordinance, this is a north-south street that turns east-west. It makes a 90-degree turn at basically its center point. Comes off of East Jefferson and turns into Philadelphia, right over by Heilman School is where it is at. Where we've run into this problem has been brought to our attention is that cars are now parking right there at that 90-degree turn, right up to the corner. It is a narrow street, and when the cars park there, initially it was brought to us because school buses could not make that turn because of them being parked there, and the radius of the turn would not allow for them to make the turn. So it got to the point even where if they see that there are cars parked there, they are not dropping off the kids. They are not making the turn because they would have to pull up and then back down a street. To see how that works for emergency vehicles, we took our largest truck out there, our tower unit, and we attempted to make that turn. It was not possible with our tower. So with with the cars parked there. When we picked a different time of day and we went out there where there was this buffer zone of 30 feet around that radius, our tower could make the turn. So we're not looking to restrict any more than we have to with parking, but we definitely, for the school buses, plow trucks, and our equipment, we would recommend that you consider this.
Discussion. Hearing none. Anybody in the public would like to comment? Thank you, Chief. Councilwoman West.
Your Honor, I move to introduce an ordinance read for the first time in its entirety.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Councilwoman West.
An ordinance establishing a stop sign on 15th Street at its intersection with D Street. Whereas the Traffic Commission, after due consideration, has recommended to the Common Council of the City of LaPorte that a stop sign should be placed on 15th Street at its intersection with D Street. Now therefore be it, and it is hereby ordained by the Common Council of the City of LaPorte, Indiana, that Section 1, a stop sign shall be placed on 15th Street at its intersection with D Street, and Section 2, this ordinance shall be in full force and effect upon its passage, approval by the mayor, and publication as required by law. End of ordinance.
Looks like Traffic Commission's been doing some work. Chief Snyder? Could this be to slow down the kids going to the high school?
Actually, I'm going to probably hit this one and the next one all in one shot, because what this is that these two intersections, this ordinance and the next one, turns out that there was never a stop sign designated for either direction, whether it was D Street and 15th here or Easton Court and East 9th. So it's basically a T intersection, both of these intersections are. And there's never been a stop sign. I guess we've just relied on people to pull up to the T and be aware that it is a T and not blow through it. But so all we're asking right now is that these actually be officially installed as stop signs. I did authorize them and tell them to put stop signs out there right now that we were made aware of it temporarily, because we didn't want to hold the city liable for a stop sign not being in place, but this would basically be an official action to go ahead and place those stop signs. So it would only place, in this case, the stop sign on 15th Street, and D Street is the actual through street. And then in the next one, it would be on, I think it's on East 9th or on Easton Court, and East 9th is the actual through street.
Questions for Chief Snyder? Comments from the public? Thank you. We'll move that along to April 17th. Councilwoman Cutler.
Your Honor, I move to introduce an ordinance read for the first time in its entirety.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Councilwoman Cutler.
An ordinance establishing a stop sign on Easton Court at its intersection with East 9th Street. Whereas the Traffic Commission, after due consideration, has recommended to the Common Council of the City of LaPorte that a stop sign should be placed at Easton Court at its intersection with East 9th Street. Now therefore be it, and it is hereby ordained by the Common Council of the City of LaPorte, Indiana, that Section 1, a stop sign shall be placed at Easton Court at its intersection with East 9th Street. Section 2, this ordinance shall be in full force and effect upon its passage, approval by the mayor, and publication as required by law. End of ordinance.
Well, I think we heard Chief Snyder. Further discussion, council?
Stop sign.
Public comment? Chief Snyder, any additions?
We're bringing them all back.
All right, well, thank you for the Traffic Commission doing some good work here, and we will move that to April 17th. Really, the biggest part, Waste Management, I just want to thank the public for working through the transition. We inherited the RTS program before we took over, and I think through all the problems in the last 4 years, I'm very appreciative of the transition Waste Management has made. It's not been easy, but we're available, accessible, and we will continue to work with them. And again, they were the most competitive bid. The supplier that was supplying us not only was inefficient, but they came back as the highest price on their newest bid. So if you have questions, please get a hold of us day or night, weekends, about your trash. But I do appreciate the residents working with us as we move that over. With that, any comments from the council? Hearing none, let everybody get to the national championship game.
Your Honor,
Oh, yes, Councilwoman West,
I would like to make a motion on something.
please.
Your Honor, I'd like to make a motion to appoint Nolan Coffin to the Fire Station Building Corporation, so we can untable that. Do I need to make a motion to
So
untable it
you have
first?
to make a motion to take off.
remove it from the table.
Okay, make a motion to remove it from the table.
Second.
Okay.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So that motion approves now.
Now, I would like to make a motion to appoint Nolan Coffin to the Fire Station Building Corporation.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion?
Nope.
This is a board that meets approximately, I think, once a year.
One time a year. And this will round out 3 members on that board with John Kaler, Anthony Sedone, and now Nolan Coffin, if it passes tonight.
That's great to see young people getting engaged in their government, so.
Yeah.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Any other comments from the council? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned. Everybody have a great evening.